Cool. Any more on that one?
No, no, no. This is all very thought provoking. This is quite entertaining. Thank you.
All right. 17. Someone is justified in their beliefs until they are proven wrong.
Well, again, my whole sense about belief is just bullshit. No one's ever justified in their beliefs, whether they're proven one way or another. I just think belief is absurd.
Hmm.
So that it gets stopped before you get to finish the statement.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, can I get your sense of what the statement is kind of pointing to?
Well, again, what is it?
Someone is justified in their beliefs until they are proven wrong.
They're just well. What does it mean? Proven wrong? I mean, until they accept that they've been proven wrong, or whether I think they've been proven wrong.
Until the belief has been proven wrong.
Well, proven wrong to who? I mean, flat Earth. Some apparently people still think that. Everyone else thinks it's been proven wrong, but they don't seem to think it's been proven wrong.
Right.
So,
Um, let's say it says someone is justified in their assumption until it's been proven wrong.
okay, justified in their assumption. Again, until it's been proven wrong to whom? I mean,
To them. To them.
oh
Like,
well, okay. So yeah, if you present them with some evidence
uh-huh.
that their assumption is in fact incorrect, and then they continue to make that assumption in the face of this this information, or yes, I guess I just don't understand
No,
the
yeah,
question.
no, no, that I think what the statement is getting to is, am I justified, and I'm going to use the word belief here.
Yeah, yeah, fine. Yeah, no problem.
Am I justified in believing something until I've been proven wrong? Like, does it-
Well, okay, well, what is proven wrong? I mean, okay, I mean, what about flat earthers? I mean, it's a pretty good example, I think. I mean, I would say they've been proven wrong, but apparently they don't accept that.
okay, so let's use that example. It's until we had good reasons to think that the earth was round, were people justified in believing the earth was flat?
Oh, well, sure. I mean, 3,000 years ago, it was
Mhm.
perfectly reasonable that the earth is flat.
Right, because our evidence, the
Yeah,
evidence we
all of
had
our evidence is that the
demonstrated.
earth is flat. Yes, of course. I mean, if you were a very careful observer, you might have begun to suspect that perhaps it's not flat. But for general, and again, the stories they get as kids, I mean, yeah, the earth was flat. That's obvious.
Hmm.
Perfectly
Right.
reasonable story.
All right. And so that is a claim that can be proven wrong. How about claims that we can't prove are wrong? And I think
Well,
that's what this
then you
statement
have
is
no
getting
point,
to.
then you have no justification for believing them.
Okay, so that okay, so I think that answers that. So
Or the
you're
assumption,
saying,
like I say, my assumption of Earth as a living organism. I don't know how I begin to prove that. Like I say, I don't think I could, because I think the idea of living organism is just a metaphor in this case. I mean, because Earth, probably isn't a male or a female or something. I mean, maybe it is. Who knows? But
hmm
um,
maybe I can go from this other angle. Um, am I justified in assuming something is accurate uh, if there's no way to be shown that I'm mistaken?
well, I mean, you're welcome to your assumptions. Um, I
For
guess,
for let,
yeah.
let's
Give
talk
me an
about
example.
an unfalsifiable claim. Am I justified in believing an unfalsifiable claim?
Well, I mean, this is at the heart of science, isn't it? I mean, people, would just say, "Well, it's a meaningless statement." If you can't falsify it, then what the hell are you even talking about?
Okay. I think that's what this is kind of getting at because um an example of this would be um I I I believe that the spaghetti monster god is real, the
Yeah.
invisible one.
Yes.
And and I say, so I'm justified in believing that because you can't prove me wrong about that.
Yeah. And so I would walk away.
Now,
I
you
say I
would,
wouldn't even argue with a person like that.
yeah, no, I understand. But
Yeah.
would you say that I was justified in believing it until you could prove me wrong about it?
Well, but I can't prove you wrong about that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
So again, I wouldn't. Yeah, like I say, I just would disengage. I wouldn't
Yeah.
even waste my time with a situation like that.
Okay. Okay.
I assume we're in agreement on that, more or less, right?
Yeah, I guess my what I the way what my takeaway from this is if I can't tell that I was mistaken, if I was mistaken, I shouldn't be confident that what I am assuming is accurate. Without the ability to tell if I'm wrong, I
Yeah.
shouldn't be confident that I'm right.
Well, again, this gets back to making assumptions. They're not either right or wrong. They're just assumptions, and if they can't be proven, like I say, this whole thing about living Earth. I mean, that's the story I got. I like it.
Yeah.
I think there are some ways of making sense out of it, but and I'm perfectly comfortable with that. It can't be proved one way or another. You know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think it's okay though to operate on assumptions with no evidence or with a weak story, maybe just because you like it. But the thing is to be important is it's important to remember that it's an assumption that I have made, not a belief in some reality out there.
hmm
That's the distinction that I think is fundamental.
What if we took that fact claim that we were talking about earlier, where it's a fact about the world that we both share? I think
You
we
mean,
mentioned about that, right? Like,
well, I mean, where Jimmy shot the shopkeeper
right,
in a
right,
hold up.
right. Would I be justified in thinking that Jimmy shot the shopkeeper if I could never be shown that I was mistaken about that?
Well, maybe Jimmy. And maybe that sounds just like the kind of thing he'd do.
Good old Jimmy.
Good old Jimmy. Yep, that's Jimmy.
He's at it again.
Yeah. So, maybe, maybe not. I mean, maybe I don't even know Jimmy, or maybe he lives down the street and I saw him twice,
hmm
and I didn't like the color of his car, yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea that I think is hard to wrap our heads around sometimes because it's almost counterintuitive because it's like, well, if I can't be shown that I'm wrong, well then of course I've got all the justification in the world that I need to know that I'm right because I no one can show me that I'm wrong.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and so
absolutely.
it's yeah, and like you said, it goes back to the falsifiability aspect of
And it may be
science,
trivial or it may be really consequential too. So it
right?
makes a difference. If it's just some trivial idea you got in your head, who cares?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I care when it affects someone's behavior because that tends to affect the rest of us
Yeah,
either indirectly or directly. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Uh,
What was
eight.
that question we were just doing? What was the statement?
Someone is justified in their beliefs until they are proven wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, see, it still gets down to this belief thing and justified. Like I say, I make
Yeah.
assumptions that I don't think can be proven wrong. Like say that Earth is a living organism,
Hmm.
but that's pretty abstract idea, and and it works for me, and that seems perfectly reasonable to make that assumption. Again, it's not a belief though. That's the difference again.
Yeah. Does that assumption affect your behavior?
Well, it affects my verbal behavior in that I
The
talk about it and bring that idea up when I'm talking with people because I think it's a
oh,
real
okay.
useful idea. So it sure does affect my behavior.
Okay. So if somehow hypothetically we found out that the Earth is not a living organism, your behavior
Well, that wouldn't
would
change anything.
change.
No, no, well, actually, that I mean depends on what you mean. You got to define what you mean by living organism. Like I say, to me, that statement is a sort of metaphor,
Yeah.
and I mean clearly, Earth is not like a monkey or a palm tree.
Right.
And there are vast differences between what we usually mean by a living organism and Earth itself.
Hmm.
And so I say, really, it'd be better to say it's a meta living organism. You know,
Okay.
but so yeah, you could prove to me it's not an animal. Well, I already know it's not a fucking monkey. You know, you're not proving anything new to me there.
Yeah.
I
And that
really
was just
just
hypothetically
yeah,
too. Like
yeah.
if somehow we could demonstrate or prove that the
Well,
the
you'd have
earth
to get.
is
Go ahead.
the earth is not a living organism by the way you define it,
Yeah.
if that
Well,
would change your behavior.
yeah. Well, if you could prove it, yeah, I don't know how you would, but or maybe the thing would be you could give me a better alternative story.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
One that made me say, "Ah, that's even better way of thinking about it."
Yeah, or if you were somehow convinced that 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 the earth was not a living organism by the way you define it,
Yeah, it's just a
if that
rock
would
with a bunch of
affect
life
your
on it. Yeah, yeah. I don't know how anybody could possibly prove that, but if they could, if I could be convinced that Earth is just a fucking rock with a bunch of slimy crap on it,
uh-huh.
um, well, then, if you could prove it, I guess I'd accept it. Like I say, it's hard for me to
How would
imagine.
your behavior change though, I guess is what I'm asking.
Oh, um, hmm, how would, well, I wouldn't be able to tell that story anymore.
Yeah,
I'd have to come
yeah.
up with some other story.
You wouldn't drive on the other side of the road because of it.
No, not immediately. Yeah, yeah. It would certainly change my verbal behavior, though.
Yeah, yeah. And that's important too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. Any more on that one?
No, no, no. This is all very thought provoking. This is quite entertaining. Thank you.
Yeah. Um, that reminds me, there is a link that I can share with you that allows you to do this survey online in real time with a group of people if you ever wanted to do that. And
Ah,
you can look at everybody's
oh,
um,
I'd like to have the question.
responses.
I'd just like to have the questions
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
file. I mean, because uh, yeah, that would be useful to have because sometimes I'm not quite sure where to go next, and it'd be nice to have a bunch of prompts.
sure, yeah. And
Yeah, so
another
if you
thing
would
that I,
send them to me, I'd appreciate it.
yeah, absolutely. I will do that. I usually take this survey with me when I go out and do street epistemology so that I have
Oh yeah,
another option for in case somebody
yeah,
has a hard time coming up with something to talk about.
yeah. No,
Um,
no, it would seem to be a really good idea to have these with you at all times. Yeah.
and another thing, and this may have been inspired by our conversations, but something new I've been taking along with me is what I call this can of words, and it's just a this do you ever have those cheese balls, those snacks, those they're terrible for you, but they're like the puffy Cheetos, but they're in balls and they call them cheese balls. I think
No, I've seen.
planters.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah, they're like by the peanuts and stuff. Well, they come in this awesome little can, and I've got this can. I washed it out, and then I just wrote down a bunch of words on little sticky notes and folded them up and put them in there. I probably have 100, and like they are like thought-provoking words. And I have to tell you, um, I a lot of them are reifications,
Of course, yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
justice and
Oh yeah.
equality
I'm
and
curious. Are there any substantive nouns in there? I mean, do you have tweezers in there,
no,
or
no,
toenails,
no,
or hubcap? You know,
no.
I bet every single one of them is a reification.
Yeah, by design.
Yes, of course. That's the perfect prompt.
Yeah, so that's another thing that I added to my uh
So how
arsenal
do you
is
use it?
this.
You just have them reach in and pull out a word and then talk about it, or
Yeah,
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 yeah. That's a good idea. I like that.
yeah. Supernatural is one of them.
Yeah.
Um, stuff,
So I mean, that's how you
words
do
that
it.
I
You
have a
just,
hard time defining.
of course, you do. So I mean, that's it. You open the can up, tell them to reach in and pick out a word, and
Yeah,
then you proceed to talk about it. Yeah, that's a
yeah.
great. Yeah.
I'll have them define it or have them tell me what it means to them or, what, however it goes from there.
Have you looked at that five stupid, or the what is it, the wisdom machine thing on my prompts?
Yes.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that there's a whole list of those words there. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
I love that. I
yeah,
love that. Yeah, that's a really fun exercise.
yes. And have you done both of them, the wisdom machine 1 and 2?
I know I've done at least one. I don't know which one I did, but
Well,
it's in
one
your
of them
link
is,
tree.
pardon?
It's
Yeah,
in your
yeah,
link tree.
yeah. It's in the
Yeah.
link tree thing. The third link in the link tree is to the Wisdom Machine 2, which instead of using reifications, uses actual substantive nouns in the same paragraph.
Okay.
Oh, you haven't done that?
No, I don't think
Oh,
I've done
let's
that.
take a minute because it'll only take a minute to do it, and you'll see the vast difference. Have you
Okay.
got access to the link tree thing now?
Let's see. Well, I tell you what. Um, why don't we do that once we're done
Okay, all right, no
with
problem.
the survey?
Yeah.
Um, and
Well,
yeah,
just
what
look at it when at your convenience. Uh, it's the third link in the link tree thing, and it's called the Wisdom Machine 2. And they really go together well. The 1 and 2. One is with the reifications,
right,
and two
right.
is with substantive nouns, and it's an entirely different universe when you start
Yeah.
plugging stink
Now that I'm
bugs.
thinking of Yeah, now that I'm thinking of it, I don't think I've done the substantive noun
Yeah,
one.
yeah. You will. It's great fun. I mean, the two
Okay.
together, they really go together well, because in the first one, it sounds like, you're listening to some politician or some
Right.
philosopher talking. And in the
Right.
second one, it sounds like you're talking to somebody in a loony bin.
I want to do that. Even today, after we're done here,
Yeah, just
I'd like to do
if
that if
you've
we have
got the
time.
link tree thing, just do the Wisdom Machine 1 again just to get refreshed, and then do
Mhm.
the Wisdom Machine 2 right afterwards, and you will, I think, get a good chuckle out of it.
Right. And I remember you doing that with somebody on the podcast too, and they entered it in, and it was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.